Caitlin Clark yesterday was arguing with referees, and as expected, yeah, they're trying to get her banned. They're trying to get Caitlin Clark suspended. It is genuinely trying to get her suspended. They're trying to get her suspended. And by the way, saying you need to take a closer look at why Clark was pressuring her coach to be let back in the game when they were up over 20 points. It resulted in Dave Portnoy placing a bet. It resulted from placing a bet. No, that's just not false. For a triple-double, he won over 300 grand, tagging the commissioner. And then
she wasn't even on the floor. And somehow, she still stole the show. Caitlin Clark, sidelined with an injury, jersey swapped for a hoodie, wasn't playing a single minute against the Mystics. And yet by halftime, she was already the headline. Not for a buzzer beater, not for a triple-double, but for snapping at the refs from the bench like she had the whistle in her own hands. Yeah, you heard that right. Clark, already known for her fire, was caught mid-rant heading into the tunnel. No jersey, no game time, just raw emotion and a whole lot of heat toward the officiating crew. And social media? They treated it like it was the game-winning shot. Wouldn't be a Fever game without this, one fan tweeted, clearly not shocked. Another said, she's fitting in with Indiana perfectly, like arguing like Tyrese Halliburton. Bruh. But it wasn't all jokes. Some people came for her hard. If you're injured, sit there and be hurt, one comment said. Coaching is not constantly complaining. The tone? Brutal. So here's the tension no one's talking about. Is Caitlin Clark showing leadership or entitlement? She's still a rookie, but already acting like a floor general from the sidelines. And let's be real, that kind of energy hits differently when you're not even suiting up. This moment didn't just expose Clark's intensity, it peeled back a bigger question about how female athletes, especially ones like Caitlin who've been media darlings, get treated the second they stop smiling and start shouting. Would this moment have gone viral if it was A'ja Wilson? Or would people say she was just being a competitor? People aren't ready to hear this, but Clark's presence, even when injured, is polarizing enough to move the needle more than most starters playing 40 minutes. And that's wild. So now the question becomes, is this just passion boiling over, or is it a red flag in the making because what happened next? Yeah, it only added fuel to the fire. People love to scream passion when a star goes off. But when does passion start looking like a problem? Caitlin Clark's sideline moment wasn't just a clip. It was a litmus test. Some saw leadership, others saw entitlement. But the real issue? Nobody seems to agree on what we want from her. Here's the setup. The Indiana Fever were flat. 40 points in the first half. No rhythm, no leader on the court. And from the bench, Clark couldn't stay silent. She was standing, yelling, coaching, clapping, basically doing everything but checking in. And then came that animated halftime interaction with the refs. Not a shrug, not a comment, but full-body frustration. Cameras caught it. The internet ran wild with it. This wasn't just about officiating, it was about image. A rookie, still new to the league, openly confronting. Authority from the bench? That's not typical WNBA behavior. And that's exactly why it blew up. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The WNBA's been built on stoicism, humility, and earning your spot. Clark? She walked in with a spotlight and isn't dimming it for anyone. That confidence? It hits different when it clashes with the league's existing culture, and suddenly her passion starts looking like ego, at least to the people who weren't on the Clark train to begin with. But let's be honest, if this was Luka Doncic, barking from the sidelines, we'd call it fire. If it was Draymond, we'd call it intensity. But when it's Caitlin Clark, a white rookie woman in a historically black veteran-led league, the rules of perception change real quick. So now we're asking, is this the edge that makes her great, or the reason the league keeps pushing? Back because what came next? Let's just say the internet wasn't done dragging her yet. And the fever? They were about to feel the weight of that spotlight. The clip hit Twitter, X, and the takes were instant, brutal, and everywhere. Wouldn't be a fever game if we didn't see this, one user posted, casually roasting Clark like, it was just another episode of The Caitlyn Show. Another fan quote tweeted the video with, she's arguing like Halliburton now. She's officially an Indiana native. That one was funny. Until the mood shifted, because the internet wasn't just laughing, it was fed up. She's complaining too much lately. It needs to stop. If you're injured, I don't need to hear nothing from you. Sit there and be hurt. Coaching is not constantly complaining. Oof. That last one stings, especially when the line between vocal leader and sideline diva gets this blurry. See, Clark's always been a lightning rod. Her confidence, iconic. Her energy, unmatched. But her attitude? It's starting to divide the timeline. Because when you're not even in uniform and still manage to stir up drama, that's when fans start questioning the why behind the hype. And let's be real, this isn't just about one clip. It's about what people think Caitlin Clark represents, a player who's been handed the spotlight before she's earned her stripes. A media darling in a league where respect is usually earned the hard way. Over seasons, not storylines. To some fans, she's the future. To others, she's already overstepping. And that's what made this moment explode online. Because in 10 seconds of sideline sass, Clark unintentionally poured gas on the growing fire. Why does she keep getting away with what other players would get crucified for? But if you think the fans were harsh, wait until you hear how her own league is reacting behind closed doors. Let's not pretend this is just about one sideline moment, because under the surface of every Caitlin Clark headline, there's a tension the league hasn't figured out how to handle. Ask yourself this. If Chennedy Carter had done the same thing, yelling at refs while injured on the bench, what would the media have said? Would we be talking about competitive, spirit, or would it be labeled disrespect, out of control, bad for the game? That's the WNBA's unspoken double standard. And Clark? She's right in the center of it, because when Caitlin challenges a ref, it's passion. When Angel Reese does it, it's attitude. When Caitlin gets hyped on the bench, it's leadership. When someone like Skylar Diggins-Smith does it, suddenly it's drama. See the pattern? It's not just fans noticing. Players see it. Coaches feel it. And WNBA veterans who've spent years fighting for headlines are watching the rookie soak up airtime, even when she's not playing, and that's where things get messy. Because the media's obsession with Clark isn't just about her skill, it's about marketability. She's safe, she's sellable, she brings in new viewers, big brands, and viral moments. But that spotlight, it warps the narrative. Suddenly, things that are normal for other players become headline-worthy when Clark does them, good or bad. This isn't just a Caitlin Clark problem. It's a league-wide identity crisis. The WNBA is being pulled in two directions. The old guard that earned respect through grind, and the new wave that's riding media momentum. So when Caitlin Clark barks at the refs from the sideline, the real question isn't, was it a big deal? It's, why does it feel like such a big deal when she does it? And the answer? Well, it says more about the league than it does about her. But what happens when that spotlight starts burning from the inside out? Here's where the narrative gets tricky, because Caitlin Clark's numbers are absolutely next level. Whether she's on the court or not, her impact can't be denied. In that first Fever game without her, the team scored just 40 points in Mao, the entire first half. That's a red flag screaming, "Where's our floor general?" Clark's absence was obvious. Without her, the offense looked like a car stuck in neutral, slow, confused, and desperately searching for momentum. But don't get it twisted. Clark isn't just some stat-padding rookie. She's a stat monster who can control games with her vision, scoring, and sheer basketball IQ. This season, she's averaging triple digits in scoring efficiency, and her assist-to-turnover ratio is one of the best in the league. Her shooting splits? Off the charts. And let's not forget her clutch moments, hitting game winners and breaking down defenses with ice-cold precision. Stats like that don't just show talent, they show dominance. She's already rewriting the rookie playbook. But here's the kicker. Numbers alone don't explain the frustration behind that sideline meltdown. Numbers don't capture how it feels to watch your team struggle without you. To know you should be out there carrying the load, but you're stuck on the bench, watching refs make calls you know are questionable. That's why Clark's passion, that fire we saw directed at the officials, makes sense. It's not just about complaining. It's about frustration, leadership, and the drive to protect your squad from the sidelines when you can't do it on the floor. And yet, here's where the WNBA's media and fans trip up. They want the results and the humble sidelines behavior. They want the Clark energy, but only when it's packaged as classy or quiet. No one wants to admit that real leaders get messy, especially in a league that demands perfection from its young stars. So yeah, Clark's stats scream future MVP. But that sideline showdown, that's the messy human part the headlines don't want you to see. And if you think that's wild, wait till you see how her teammates really feel about all this. Behind every heated sideline moment, there's a story teammates and coaches rarely spill. But this one, it's starting to leak. You see, Caitlin Clark isn't just the fiery voice fans see on camera. She's also the pulse of the Fever locker room, vocal, intense, and unapologetically herself. Some teammates thrive on that energy, feeding off her relentless drive. Others, well, let's just say it's complicated. Tension that affects chemistry. But no one doubts Clark's commitment or her basketball IQ. That's why she's still the Fever's floor general, injury or not. This tension reveals a deeper WNBA truth. Leadership isn't just about talent, it's about emotional intelligence. And in a league hungry for stars who can handle the spotlight, that skill separates good players from icons. So while the internet debates if Clark is too much or just right, her teammates and coaches are living that balancing act. Every day, wrestling with the passion that fuels the Fever, but also threatens to burn them down. The real question? Can Caitlin Clark channel that fire into pure leadership? Or will the drama keep overshadowing her greatness? And trust me, what happens next might just change everything for her and the Fever. Once that clip of Caitlin Clark throwing shade at the refs hit social media, the internet absolutely exploded. And not in a good way. Fans were split like a heated group chat at 2 a.m. Some praising her fiery leadership, others dragging her for too much complaining and showboating. One fan even said, "If you're injured, just sit down and be quiet." Oof. Talk about no chill, but the wildest part? The memes and tweets started pouring in faster than you can say technical foul. Someone compared her to Tyrese Halliburton arguing with NBA refs. Classic Indiana energy, they said. Another fan straight up called it typical Fever behavior. Translation? Clark's sideline sass is as expected as rain in April, yet the shade didn't stop there. Critics fired back with calls for Clark to stop whining and focus on healing. But here's the kicker. Clark wasn't even playing. She was coaching, hyping, holding her team together while sidelined. So why is being vocal from the bench suddenly a crime? This fan backlash shines a harsh light on a bigger problem. The expectation for players, especially women in the WNBA, to be quiet, composed, and perfect, even when the game isn't going their way. Clark's outburst wasn't just a moment. It was a mirror showing how little space there is for raw emotion in the league's spotlight, and it raises a huge question. Why is passion from a sidelined player treated like a scandal, not a sign of heart? So what happens when fans and the media keep policing players' emotions like this? Will WNBA stars be forced to play it safe, or will someone break the mold and change the game forever? You won't believe what's coming next. Trust me, this story is just heating up. Here's the real talk no one's ready to admit. Caitlin Clark's sideline showdown isn't just about one game or one player. It's a snapshot of WNBA leadership under pressure. In a league still fighting for respect and visibility, players like Clark carry more than just the ball. They carry expectations, stereotypes, and the weight of representing an entire sport. And guess what? That pressure doesn't disappear when they're off the court. Clark's fiery outburst? It's a challenge to the status quo, demanding that players be seen as complex humans, not just highlight reels or role models glued to a perfect script. The WNBA needs leaders who speak up, push boundaries, and fight for their teams, even if it means ruffling feathers. But here's the catch. The league's culture hasn't fully caught up. Women's sports often get boxed into the polite and quiet narrative. If you're too loud, too emotional, or too real, suddenly you're a problem. That's the double standard Clark is battling head-on. Her frustration is a reminder that leadership isn't always neat or pretty. It's messy, passionate, and sometimes uncomfortable. And that's exactly what the WNBA needs to embrace if it wants to evolve and grow. Will Caitlin Clark become the face of a new, unapologetic era of leadership, or will she get buried under the weight of old expectations? One thing's for sure. Ignoring this conversation won't make it go away. The WNBA is watching, and so are we. So buckle up, because the next chapter in this story could change the game forever. And if you thought this was just about refs and fouls, think again. The real game is just getting started. So where does Caitlin Clark go from here? After that viral halftime showdown with the refs, the pressure cooker only gets hotter. The Fever are struggling offensively without their floor general on the court. And Clark's fiery sideline presence shows just how much this team leans on her, injury or not. But passion can be a double-edged sword. Fans love the energy, but when does it cross the line into distraction? That's the debate. Clark's public frustration isn't just a personal moment. It's a symptom of a larger Fever identity crisis. Are they a team fueled by raw emotion or held back by it? Can Clark channel that flame into leadership that uplifts, or will it create more noise than net? Plus, the WNBA is watching. How the league, coaches, and media respond to moments like this will shape the future narrative around star players, especially young ones who refuse to play by the quiet athlete rulebook. One thing is clear. Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere quietly. Whether you see her as a fiery leader or a headache in the making, her story is far from over. The Fever's next games? They'll reveal whether Clark's passion becomes their secret weapon or the drama that costs them. And, for the rest of us watching, this saga is exactly why the WNBA drama is the hottest ticket in women's sports right now. So, what do you think? Is Clark leading a revolution or stirring unnecessary chaos? Drop your take, because this roller coaster is just gaining speed. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Here's the thing, no one's really saying out loud. Caitlin Clark's heated moments with the refs are about way more than just a single game or even the Fever's struggles. This is about who gets to show emotion in the WNBA and how much space players have to be real without getting branded as too much. Clark's energy from the bench is a middle finger to the old-school expectation that women's athletes must be calm, composed, and polished 24/7. That pressure? It's exhausting. The league wants stars to shine, but only on their terms, controlled, curated, and sanitized for mass consumption. Clark's refusal to stay quiet is a wake-up call. Passion and intensity are not flaws. They're the lifeblood of leadership and competition, and the stakes are huge. The WNBA is still fighting for respect, money, and legitimacy in the sports world. Players showing raw emotion and toughness? That's the culture shift needed to break through outdated stereotypes and prove women's basketball demands attention. Clark's sideline sass is a preview of the new guard, unfiltered, unapologetic, and unafraid to shake the system. It's messy, yes, but it's also necessary. So the question is, will the league and fans embrace this change or cling to old expectations that keep players boxed in? One thing's certain. Caitlin Clark's fiery spirit is sparking a conversation that's long overdue. And if you thought this was just about a ref dispute, think bigger. This is the future of WNBA leadership, and trust me, it's going to be wild. Stay tuned.